Alright everybody, today we're going to show you a few simple adjustments to get your Harley Sportster tuned up at the throttle and the clutch to get this thing operating just a little bit better for you. Alright everybody, what is up? As always, thanks for stopping by to another video today. Today we are still taking a look at my Harley Sportster Iron 1200, and if you guys have been tuning in for a little bit now, you know I recently started to transform this thing into a little bit of a bobber Sportster here, and the first step to that was throwing some new handlebars on here. Well, not totally new, but new to me. Of course, as you guys know, the Iron 1200 comes stock with the higher 12-inch mini apes. Recently dropped these down to the stock Iron 883 bars, and along with that comes a little bit of playing around and adjustments once you swap out bars of really any kind or style on any bike. Adjustments of the throttle, the levers, the clutch, the controls, how they're situated, how the bars roll forward or backwards, and I think I've got it into a good spot right now with the positioning of the bars, the way they're rolled, the controls, the brake, the clutch lever, everything like that. The only thing is that I'm really starting to notice now is I really just need to kind of get the throttle tuned in and dialed in here, as well as the clutch lever and clutch cable as well. So obviously when you switch this type of stuff out, you have to remove all your control housings, throttle, tubes, everything like that, handlebars, grips, all that stuff has to kind of come off, slide back on. So within that, obviously you're going to lose a little bit of your original adjustments with your cables, your clutch cable on this side, throttle cables, idle cable, things like that. Bike's been running good and fine, but I've noticed there's a couple things I can probably just get tuned up and cleaned up here. First one that we're going to take a look at is the throttle. So felt like I had it pretty good when I first started riding around with the new bars, but just kind of feels like a little bit of slop, a little bit too much play right here. Of course, we don't want this thing to be super tight, and you do want a little play, but when I've been riding around, it just feels a little bit too sloppy here. There's a little hesitation, I think, with just how loose this is. So we're going to get this dialed in. We're going to get this tightened up here a little bit and tuned up to remove some of that slack. See if we can get a little bit better throttle responsivity out of the throttle side. Then of course over on the clutch side, I feel like I've got just a little bit too much slop here as well. We're going to try to get this dialed in. Again, you do want some free play over here, but just seems like a bit too much. We're going to tighten up this side just a little bit as well. So these are just simple adjustments that anyone can really do. You just need a couple wrenches here to get your cables broken loose. So if anybody has any experience or tips and tricks of the trade with dialing in your throttle cables or clutch cables, go ahead and drop it down in the comments and let me know what kind of tips and tricks you guys have. If you guys have ever done some of these adjustments, drop it down in the comments and let me know what your experience has been like messing around or dialing in or adjusting any of these cables throughout any of your bikes. So of course, make sure you stay tuned in this video as we get some of these adjustments done. We will of course go ahead, hop on the bike and see if we have fixed up some of this slop, see if some of these adjustments have helped. So make sure you stay tuned for that as we hop on and take a ride. So like I said, really anyone can do this. You're just gonna need a couple wrenches here. First thing we're gonna do is slide down this protective boot, expose some of the adjusting mechanism here for the throttle cable. So all we're going to do is really just break that nut loose, slide it down here. That's going to give us some room to start to make some of this adjustment here. So if we start to back this out, this is going to throw even more play into this throttle side cable here. So we back that out. Now we've got a ton of slop here. So just kind of shows you how you can make some of these adjustments here. But so what we want to do is start to give that a tightening up a little bit. So we're kind of back to where we were with some of that free play. We will continue to tighten this up a little bit here. So I'm going to tighten it up just a tad more, maybe one more turn there. And so you can see there's a lot less free play here than when we started. Make sure it's snapping back into place. Maybe even just one more quarter turn to tighten that up there. Of course, we don't want to over tighten it, but so I think we've got our desired result here. This is a lot less slop and a lot less free play, but still enough to where we're not super totally tightened up. All right, so I think we have that where we want it. Next thing we're gonna do is just tighten up the adjuster nut here to make sure we are tight and locked into place. Check it again. A little bit of free play. Snapping back into place nice and smooth. I think that's where we want to be. Then we'll just go ahead and slide that protective boot back up here. And then we should be good on the throttle side. We're going to go over to the cable side now. Alrighty, so we are over on the clutch cable side now. So similar idea to the throttle side. We've got a couple clips that are going to hold your cables in place over on this side. Let's go ahead and pop those off. And then of course we've got another boot cover here. We're going to go ahead and slide that up to expose our adjusting mechanism. Same idea from here. We're going to go ahead and break free that adjusting nut. Alrighty, so to give you guys an idea here, as we back out the clutch cable, we're going to start to see a bunch of that slack up here in the top. Of course, almost to where we can't even use it. But what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and tighten that up to see where we can reduce that gap of free play just a little bit, because I think I had too much free play in it before. So let's check it out here. Now that might be a little too tight, not enough free play. Let's go ahead and back it out just a little bit. Check it again, and I think that's right about where we want to be. I'm actually going to tighten it up just a touch more. And again, of course, some of this could be trial and error. Do your adjustments, take it for a ride. That's a little bit of what we'll do today. So we're going to hop on the bike here in just a minute, but keep checking this free play here. I think that's right about where I want to be. It's definitely tightened up from where it was before. All right, so we got it where we want it. We're going to tighten back down the locking screw there. Of course, go ahead and slide that protective boot back down the adjusting mechanism. Simply grab our clips and tighten those back up to the frame. So of course, after you adjust your clutch, just like on the throttle side, you want to give it a couple good pulls here. Make sure we have full range of motion. Make sure it's staying in the adjustment you want. Another thing I like to do too is hop on, give the handlebars a turn. Make sure everything is still working as properly, staying in the right adjustments even as you turn the handlebars. Make sure the throttle snaps back. Make sure the clutch still works with the bars turned. Alrighty, I think these adjustments are good to go. Let's hop on the bike, take it for a ride, and see how these adjustments turn out for us. Alrighty guys, so we are on the bike now after making a couple of those simple adjustments. Now, I'm not really expecting to notice a whole lot here. Like I said, I was just trying to like clean up some of that slop, kind of like clean up a little bit of the free play with the throttle side and clutch side cables. One of the big things right off the bat that I'll be interested to see is at a stop here like this, is it get a little easier to find neutral. And yes, popped right in. I was having just a little bit of a struggle before with that sloppy cable. And yeah, it seems to be popping right into neutral a little bit easier now. So before it was like kind of flying right up past neutral. And then, yeah, now we're just kind of sliding right into that neutral spot. So that's good. I think that at least helped a little bit. The other thing I'm looking for is just like a good smooth takeoff in first gear from lights and stuff like that. That was good. Smooth little shift into second, and of course we're in the city, we got a bunch of stupid red lights we'll stop at. But yeah, for the most part, like I said, just kind of looking to clean up a little bit of that clutch cable and throttle cable response. It seems to have worked. I mean, we've just been on the bike a short time here, so I was also, like I said, looking for a little bit of that throttle responsivity to clean up here. Just looking for a little bit of that like reduced hesitation, a little bit extra kick. And it feels like we've got it there, kind of in like 2,500 RPMs in second gear. It's kind of responding just like a tad better. Like I said, I'm not expecting any like crazy significant changes here. Just kind of clean some of this stuff up a little bit. So we'll get to see right here as we take off from this light. Like I said, I was just trying to clean up some of that shifting, get it a little more crisp, get it a little bit more cleaner. We'll run through a few gears here at this light takeoff. yeah, everything felt good right there through first, second, third, fourth. Takeoff felt good. So I think we've got the throttle cable and clutch cable in a good adjustment here moving forward. Now, because they're cables, that's stuff that I always like to kind of keep an eye on, the quality and health of them. Just inspect them every once in a while, make sure they're not like frayed or anything like that. Because cables, obviously, they can stretch and expand, all that different stuff. You do kind of have to keep an eye on them. Make sure you've got everything adjusted up properly as you go on. Like, you know, we've got this thing dialed in right now. We could have to adjust it again in like 2-3 weeks, a month, who knows. We'll see how it goes. But as of right now, like I said, after I changed out the bars, I just wanted to get everything dialed in, because of course when you change the bars, you got to take your controls off, you loosen up some of the cables, just kind of got to give everything a double check, ride it once or twice to see where your adjustments are, and then you can go from there to really kind of get them cleaned up and dialed in, which I think we were able to accomplish that with those simple little adjustments at the throttle and clutch cables. So like I said, if you guys have any experiences out there with any of those adjustments on your cables, on your bikes, feel free to drop any of your tips and tricks down in the comments. I'd be curious to hear if any of you guys have done some of those similar adjustments, or kind of some of those just similar simple cable adjustments that you guys do along the way to kind of keep your bike running and tuned up properly. Or any other simple cable tips and tricks you guys want to drop down in the comments. I would be curious to hear any of those down there, maybe even give some of them a shot myself. But of course, that is going to go ahead and wrap this one up for now. If you guys like anything we got going on here, make sure you go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with everything we got going on. As always, make it a good one, guys. Ride safe out there. It's the Moto John. We'll see you all on down the road. Peace.